Still waiting in line? Again? That's time you'll never get back. Save time and money with Stamps.com. Over 4 million businesses have skipped the line with Stamps.com. Join them to save up to 90% off carrier rates from your computer or phone right now. Print postage for certified mail, registered mail, and packages in seconds. Then schedule a pickup right from your home or office. For a limited time, go to Stamps.com and use code PODCAST for a free welcome gift. Taxes and fees apply.
A burst pipe, a dead water heater, the AC calling it quits. Who do you call? HomeServe is an easy way to handle unexpected home repairs with plans covering stuff basic homeowners insurance usually won't. Instead of scrambling for a contractor, you make one call to get the repair process started. Join the millions of customers who trust HomeServe right now. Go to homeserve.com/podcast for 50% less your first year. That's homeserve.com/podcast. Savings compared to renewal price. Void in Florida.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
I don't have to tell you, I really loved the whole last section about, you know who's going to lead this? It's going to be women. Women need to lead this. I think it's true. I mean, she was anticipating the tech bros back in 2024 when she was writing this thing. I mean, not that they didn't exist then, but let's face it, look around now, right? I mean, they've taken over the AI
magnitude.
Right, exactly. And so she was really she was really quite ahead of her time, prescient in that regard. But yeah, I'm like, go girl, yes.
Well, women understand the fight for autonomy in a way that men don't, you know? And
That's
I think a lot
true.
of like us being worried about AI being dominant is like, are we losing autonomy, you know?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. It's Andrew. I am so excited to let you all know that we are now in the top 40 best liberal arts podcasts list that got sent to me, and we're number 3. So thank you all for listening to the podcast. And I just really appreciate that you keep spreading the word. So please make sure you follow us on social media. Instagram is Ivory Tower Boiler Room, TikTok, Dr.Andrew Rimby, and please review us on Apple, Spotify. It really, all of it helps. So I hope you just enjoy this episode. And as always, remember, there is an ad-free version on our Patreon. Welcome to an exciting Teaching the Humanities book club with the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. Love that I've assembled those who've been on the podcast, those who will, like Rachael, will be on the podcast. So I'm joined with Angela Weisl, Mary Balkun, Meredith Aristone, Stefanie Shapiro, and Rachael Warmington. I think between everyone, we've got North Jersey, Bucks County, PA, the Bronx covered. So we got
Brooklyn,
New York, New
Brooklyn.
Jersey. Oh, and Brooklyn. Yeah. We got New York, New Jersey, PA in the house. Okay. So true tri-state area. We just need like Delaware and we'd be good. But, you know, I'm really excited to talk about this book, The New Empire of AI, recommended by Stefanie. So thank you, Stefanie. So this is our more, I think, you know, Stefanie framed it as critiquing AI more than the other book we'll come back on to talk about, co-intelligence. But Rachel Adams is, I just want to look here, the CEO and founder of the Global Center on AI Governance, which I didn't know, like, that was her, like, she actually founded this organization. But yeah, it's a really interesting book to think about, you know, these timely questions and crises we've all been discussing about, you know, is AI a neutral force in our lives? Is it going to create more equality or inequality? Is it going to allow governments to surveil us? You know, does it just continue to eat away at our democracy? I think like there's so many big large questions. So, whoever wants to start, like, what were just your first impressions about the new empire of AI? Like, what Rachel's doing in this book?
I thought it was, honestly, I thought it was more engaging than I thought it would be. Just because a lot of books like this are not. They tend to get bogged down in the terminology and the technology. I mean, I have to say, I was very grateful for a lot of the explanations of things, right? So explaining how these things work, explaining what they're built on, not assuming that you understand the way the technology is structured, how it was created, and all of that. So I thought that was really terrific, and it was really readable, right? I mean, it was a relatively quick read, all things considered. So that I really appreciated. So I don't know how, I see a lot of nodding, so I feel like a lot of you felt the same way. And I really like the fact that so she taps into a lot of the things that we, I'm sure everybody sitting here right now would say, yes, I knew about these. At least I'm aware of the environmental impacts, the workforce impacts, the cultural impacts, the ethical impacts, all of that. But I mean, as a literary scholar, I was really fascinated by the way she connected all of this to, and an early Americanist, frankly, to the whole colonialist framework and the colonizing impetuses that led to things like the foundation of the United States, right? We're a British colony. And then the focus, of course, on the majority world and on Africa in particular, I feel like really gave it a really interesting resonance and immediacy. I mean, she honed in on that, and that I think helped a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary.
Although I did find she often kind of lost her focus. She would say, and the book is really about Africa, and she'd talk about Africa for a while, and then she'd be sort of wandering off and talking about something else. Not that it felt kind of diffuse or random, but it was just interesting that there was so much else. And I also really found the sort of historical reading of this very interesting, that she was reading it through the lens of colonialism. And, that moment where she goes all the way back to the Mongols and the compass. And as a medievalist, certainly that interested me. And somebody who thinks about global medieval networks, that really interested me. And so it's sort of like, that was the beginning of the downfall of the universe, right?
Yeah.
And I to reiterate what Mary said, is like there was a lot of it that I sort of knew, but to have it all played out like this was extremely valuable.
Yeah. And should say it was published in 2025. So
right.
The conversation has escalated in certain ways. Right. I mean, I think, right, to try to write a book about AI is also to fall behind
Absolutely.
in the conversation. But also published in Hoboken, New Jersey with Polity Press. So there you go. New Jersey for the win. No. Yeah. How about you, Meredith?
I thought it was super interesting to read that they were conferencing about this in 2016 because I feel like when they were talking about being in this small Swiss town and everyone was meeting, because I feel like I don't know about you guys or if this is just me, but even as someone who is, young and like AI has been a thing, it just feels like it popped up out of nowhere. I had no idea where it was birthed and along what timeline. So it's super interesting to me to think about sort of its origins in that regard, and how it kind of came onto the scene. And also, like, if we're talking about the implications of it in a systemic way, like what was known by people in positions of power before it was just launched into the world as this easily accessible tool. Yeah, super interesting to me.
Yeah. How about you, Rachel? You and Stefanie, I would say, are more pro AI. Not like we're gonna have to do a team, but
I would say that I'm actually in the middle, because I feel that you can't criticize something or put up stop signs or red lights unless you're actively involved in it. And the one thing I would say is that when she was talking about the whole thing with colonialism in the construction of AI, it's not just like, who it like waters down to, like when she was talking about the help desk. it's known that with ChatGPT that they utilized people from all different countries who English wasn't their first spoken language. So really, when we were first utilizing the, turn it in and stuff for us, I was thinking about, well, like, what kind of power structure then is taken away, because you have AI, which is using cheap labor. A lot of that cheap labor was people who, learned, English as a second language. So much of the early, training was utilized that way. And those students who speak in language, English is their second language, though it's getting better, they were getting flagged and it wasn't their fault. So they were being displaced. And, when you think about the price of it and the different ways that if you have the paid version or the free version, there's disparity there, that could go back. And that reminds me of the different levels of power during colonialism, indentured servants and slaves. It's just, the book started to get me thinking about all these other things we could connect to AI that I hadn't really thought about before, but almost indirectly, because some of the things that she was talking about made me think of other workers that are associated with AI. And, in relation to the data centers, they've always been a problem, but because of the growth of data centers, since how much power and, AI takes up, the problems that were there before are now, been exacerbated. But I think what we have to recognize too is some of those spaces that have already been set up, they're being taken over by AI. So they're being appropriated, and now they're not just data centers for stuff that we use all the time. But what the book really started really making me think about is that, it's not just AI, but like, our emails, our courses we put online, all these materials that are also in these spaces, which take up memory and also utilize data centers. It's sort of kind of opened up that whole space. Well, if we're going to look at this, I think we have to look at other things, because there are other things that are also, utilizing on, data centers.
Yeah. No, thank you for bringing up the, data centers. And then how about you, Stefanie?
Hey.
Hey.
So, yeah, in terms of like my thoughts about that, I think so like I said, I actually that I got halfway through that book and I did read the other book, but I think it's interesting. And regarding the data center thing, what I have noticed, this is a little bit ad hoc, but I have been using ChatGPT mostly, and I have a subscription. I pay for a plan there. And I've been noticing that it's been very, very slow lately. And apparently now I have the option to do like intermediate or advanced ability now to decide, I guess, how much data it's actually going to require AI to use when you are actually using it, personally, professionally, etc. And it's been an interesting thought process for me and a thought experiment, because I actually sat yesterday thinking to myself, do I want to put it on the super advanced end of the spectrum, so I'm using more energy and requiring more power and harming the environment even more, or do I want to like put it on a lower mode? But the thing is, when I had it on the left end of the spectrum on the lower mode, it took like minutes for it to answer my question. And I actually asked it, I said, why are you so slow? Because it wasn't this slow. It's just been like a recent thing in the past couple of days. And its answer was pretty much that it depends on how much data processing and the data speed and how much energy I'm going to require from it. And so, I think that this idea of ethics and this idea of what is our contribution in terms of that, I feel the onus is now put on me more as a consumer, right, in a way that I didn't really feel even a few days ago. And it's been an interesting thought process for me to say to myself, okay, well, do I want to wait a few extra minutes to have it answer my question and use less energy? Or am I going to be an impatient, American consumer who wants everything pronto and fast? So I think, I have kind of landed in the middle, where I think some of the questions I'm asking it, if they require a more complex, deeper answer, and I do think that I don't want to wait like 5 minutes for it, then I'm going to put it on the kind of advanced, literally the advanced option. But I think some of the questions that are more simple, I can just leave as I forget how what word they use for the lowest end on the left end of the spectrum, but whatever that one is.
Yeah, no, thank you, Stefanie. I mean, that's so interesting now. Like the consumer has, right? What they're saying is we're starting to be able to have a say, right? And I'm sure these protests happening across America, I mean, even Jersey, there's so many towns that are protesting the data centers. But like even in her chapter on the cost of AI at the end, to like read that large language models like ChatGPT require around 100 times more computer processing power due to the huge number of data they are trained on and the complexity of their neural networks. Like just like how much stronger it is than just our laptops to power is wild.
But isn't it sort of saying, okay, it's up to you now. You can say I want to use less energy, is putting the onus on the consumer when it's the producer that's creating the problem, right? My saying I'm going to use the least slowest energy doesn't really do anything, right? It's like my bringing my coffee cup to the coffee place and asking them to put coffee in it instead of using a paper cup, which I do, but really that's not going to solve our garbage problem, right? It is the people who produce these problems who need to solve them. But by saying, oh, well, you as the consumer get to have this say, you can use less, it's sort of suggesting that really it's our problem when it's not. And it's again, it's a way of offloading their responsibility or masking their responsibility by claiming that the consumer actually has something to, can make an effect on it, which, one of us making that choice really can't. If everybody says, fuck AI, I'm not going to use it.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say, I forgot.
Oh, you can say fuck.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, Angela.
That's different, but saying I'm just going to use it on less energy isn't doing that.
So
Exactly,
I have a
Angela.
question,
They're shifting
though.
the blame. They're shifting the blame so they could say,
Well,
we gave this option, only 20% of users are using it on the less data consumption. So obviously, the consumer is fine with the amount of data that we're using. So it almost offsets the responsibility, maybe even the financial or legal responsibility, which is what they might be trying to do.
So, I have a question then for Stefanie. So, does the more advanced option cost you money?
So not that I'm aware of. I pay $20 a month to, OpenAI, ChatGPT to use their services. So no, I don't think it costs any more money. I since I have a paid prescription, however, I am not sure what it looks like on the free end. Like I'm not sure if if you don't have a subscription, what it looks like. Are you able to kind of have this choice, this whole like little spectrum from like lowest energy level to highest energy level? I don't know that. But I do know, like on Claude, I don't pay for Claude, but I do know you can still choose what kind of model you are using there. So yeah, I think for me, this has just been, I have just noticed this very recently in the past few days. I don't feel that I was as in as much control of how much energy I was using as I do feel like now. So I don't know, but I think Angela's point is, taken that this idea, like putting the onus, because I do feel a little bit of a burden put on me, but at the same time, maybe that's just a little bit of, some psychological subterfuge because I don't really have that much control. I guess if everyone who's using open or using AI chooses like the least amount of energy, maybe that would make an impact, but I suspect that not really.
Right.
Well, and it's also like, are the contrasts in energy levels common knowledge, right? Because like your average user who's going about this wants to do so, let's say in an ethical or more ethical way, it's like they're not necessarily provided with the education on that. Like it's not widespread. I think for those who are interested in the ethics of it and want to complete the research and read text regarding it, totally. But I think, there's definitely an education gap with this as well. I don't think people necessarily know what they're getting into and what the contribution is as they're doing it.
Yeah, and I know like Rachael Adams doesn't get into like the idea of the paid subscription wasn't yet. there. So I'm also
Right.
kind of curious, has there been studies done yet of people less likely using AI because now there is a subscription service built in? Like, I'm not sure. Like, is that going to detract people, like, to use it? Is it going to detract students from using it? Why does anything exist? Why is there something rather than nothing? I think that's a question we all, as curious people, have asked ourselves. And let me tell you, Professor Stephen A. Simon's new book is so thought-provoking that I can't wait for you all to pick it up. He provides his experience as a professor of political science and philosophy to explore that question with such a variety of perspectives from science, religion, philosophy, and even mathematics. He helps us understand what could possibly explain the most fundamental fact of all, that anything exists. So you can get this from broadviewpress.com. The floodgates have opened with science fiction as a genre in my life because I owe this to my husband, and I'm going to give him credit. He has really gotten me to think more about sci-fi, film, and literature. I have to say, Minority Report, absolutely amazing. And Alien, I mean, who doesn't love that alien coming out of that human body in the first film? So Professor Jason Haslam's new anthology provides a lot of exploration with all different short fiction, so many sci-fi authors, over 200 years, including sci-fi that explores indigenous futurism, feminist science fiction, Afrofuturism. Again, you can get this on broadviewpress.com. And last but not least, my upcoming episode with Professor Matthew James Wachinsky explores his book, which is Original Inquiry, A Guide to Research for Undergraduates, a great toolkit for all faculty out there who are just trying to find a book that helps their students understand how to collect research sources and then, right, the hardest part, build and organize their essay with all of these sources and to make a cohesive argument. I can't recommend Original Inquiry highly enough. So again, all three books can be found on broadviewpress.com. Use the promo code Ivory Tower for 20% off.
Your team just added its 67th AI tool and also your 67th security blind spot. The good news? The Vanta agent works like a GRC engineer in the background, finding every app your team uses, scoring the risk, and drafting fixes for you. Vanta is the platform used by over 16,000 fast-moving companies like Ramp, Cursor, and Harvey, who are shaping the future with AI and staying ahead of AI risk. Get started at Vanta.com.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
Shipping, billing, admin, payroll, marketing. You're managing all the things. So why waste time sending important documents the old-fashioned way? Mail and ship when you want, how you want with Stamps.com. Print postage on demand 24/7 and schedule pickups from your office or home. Save up to 90% with automated rate shopping. That's why over 1 million small businesses trust Stamps.com. Go to Stamps.com and use code PODCAST to try Stamps.com risk-free for 60 days.
Are you a fan of classic Hollywood movies?
Are you a fan of queer cinema?
Then do we have the podcast for you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Christian Garcia.
And I'm Luke Del Mar.
And we are your hosts of That Old Gay Classic Cinema, where we take a look at some of the greatest films of all time and analyze them through a queer theoretical lens.
Let's be honest. LGBTQIA+ people have been a part of Hollywood since its inception, and this podcast celebrates those artists and entertainers of yesteryear while also taking a closer look at the queer-coded characters and stories in classic Hollywood films long before queer representation entered the mainstream.
So follow us down the road of classic cinema as we give you a guide to some of the films that touched our hearts, brains, and even gave us courage to be ourselves.
You can listen to That Old Gay Classic Cinema wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
All right, listeners, we're ready for our close-up.
Well, I mean, I think that I don't really think so, because I think that there's still so much you can do with the free versions. And also there's so many different models out there, like Gemini, like Chat, Claude. I mean, there's just so many that you can just kind of keep going from one to the other. Like, even if you reach your capacity of how much you can engage with that, whatever model you're using, you can then, if you hit your limit, which I have on Claude every now and again, then you could just move to another one, So I don't necessarily, I mean, of course, obviously, they always want to make more money. So I do think that for me, I have a subscription because I have a lot of prescriptions too. I have a subscription because I just wanted to have unlimited usage of it, both personally and professionally. And so I kind of didn't want to hit that max. Also, it remembers your exchanges. So if you have a free one, technically it's not supposed to kind of keep track of what you're inputting, but I'm not really sure that's true, because I kind of think it still keeps track. But with Chat, since I pay, it remembers everything. So it's like a little bit like I'm at the point where I can put in 5 words. I don't even give it any backstory. I don't give it any context. I just say, like, remember this, or I won't even say that. I'll just ask it a question expecting that it will remember everything about me that I have told it. And it does, which is creepy and eerie and also fascinating.
Right. But I guess I also I'd like to know for how long free versions are actually going to be available. This is a capitalist tool, let's face it. It's just a matter of time. You get sucked in, you get used to this thing, and then you get charged. It's, I mean, it might not happen in a month or 6 months or even a year, but at some point, I think, and by the way, I also think, to go back to some of the things she's addressing, which she doesn't address this specifically, but I would say in line with her argument, what would happen is that the crappiest, slowest versions are going to be the ones that are free. And those are the ones in the majority world are going to have access to, and everybody else is going to have the wherewithal or whatever to access, whether it might not even be individually, it might be through a school account or a work account, right? And so, you see another example of the haves and the have-nots, because free.
Mary, that's happening. Your point is already happening, and I would say, the free versions will be around, because the free versions are a mechanism to get people to buy the paid versions, because the free versions are better than they were 6 months ago, but the free versions are not as good in any of these as the paid versions. So you use the free versions, whether you have a certain amount of, questions you could ask it, provided depending on which one you're using, or, the quality of what you're getting. You're not going to get the same quality or as many features as you do with the paid versions. Good. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so I think it's already happening, and that inequality is already there.
Right. Oh, yeah.
No, I was just gonna say that, like, the chats, like, you'll be in the midst of it and it will interrupt you and it will say, like, to continue this conversation, please pay, because I've got on the free. No, seriously, and I've gone on, and I think that's very funny in the context,
especially if you want an AI generated image.
Yeah,
they've now blocked.
They block features, and it's like it reminds me of the premise of someone love bombing you and then withdrawing. Like, that's what ChatGPT feels like to me.
Taking away the dopamine. They're like, you're not going to get that dopamine hit.
It creates dopamine. Straight up say to you, it'll be like it'll say you are now going to use a less effective model. So whatever you're coming to it with, it's not going to have the same intelligence when it talks to you. So I think that's interesting. It stops you midway, and it says to continue this, you do have to pay.
Yeah. Well, another question I have for everyone is, did Rachel's argument sway you in a different direction? Before you read it and now, are you like, oh wait, she shifted my mind? Especially Mary, you brought up about what she's doing with the global South, and Angela too, the decolonial kind of critique she's adding here.
Yeah. As I was reading this, I mean, I'm thinking about the nature of this book group and what we're doing. And I kept trying to think to myself, okay, how does this connect to what we do? right? I mean, not that it doesn't connect to all of us in certain broader sense, but just even on how does this affect us as educators? I have to say, one of the things I wrote, I mean, always notes, was that, first of all, it's true. The harms are not just global. And yes, there are protests going on in Kenilworth, New Jersey, right? 20 minutes from here, for pushing back on a data center. But I guess I started to think about things like, what is our social responsibility as educators and researchers and faculty members when it comes to this stuff? Am I complicit if I'm using it, if I'm having my students use it? What am I ignoring in order to do that? I mean, I'm not trying to create an ethical dilemma, but I think she does. I think, and she doesn't say we shouldn't use it, obviously. She's saying we need to think about what the impact is on this. I will say the one criticism I did have was that she gets a little bit redundant. If I read that one statement one more time, I think I was going to throw the book across the room. It was the thing about who pays, right? Who pays and that kind of thing. So that line kept coming up a lot. So I found a little bit of the repetition a little bit, annoying. But I guess my question is an ethical one to some extent, right? If we are taking this on, and we're doing this, and we're using this, and we're encouraging our students to use it, what role are we playing in the stuff she's describing?
And I wonder too, not only that, but should we be ethically obligated to provide an education to our students about the kinds of things she's talking about? I mean, I sort of jokingly a couple of years ago put on my syllabus, like, you can't use AI because it caused the LA wildfires, right? Which was, sort of trying to say something about the environmental impact,
right?
And it led to some funny conversations in class. It did, but, are we not only have to think about ethically whether we ask our students to use it or not, or even or allow them to or forbid them to, but also what we need to tell them about it, what we think they need to know to make the choices about using it.
Right.
Whether we say, you can, because we can't say you can't use it ever. We can say you can't use it in my class.
Right.
But once they're out the door, they do whatever they want. And
right. And
so
they should be aware.
What obligation do we have to educate them about the kind of costs of this,
right,
and the problems?
Yeah,
I mean, hi guys. So yeah, I think that we do have an obligation to educate them, and I think the question is how best to do that and how efficiently. I feel like I think we have a responsibility to educate our students about how to use AI and also about what that means. So I don't, obviously, we're teaching courses, right? Like I'm teaching a first year writing course. I can't devote countless classes to all of this, right? So I actually think, in the future, colleges as a whole should maybe start having courses that are literally just devoted to this, how to use AI and also what that means, and have, like an interdisciplinary dialogue about it, right? Like, here's all the ways that it affects our lives, professionally, personally. These are all like the environmental aspects, the psychological aspects, the intellectual aspects, right? I think that would behoove, colleges as a whole and also our students. I think that her, Rachel Adams' conversation about equity and equality, I think is very profound and I think very meaningful. And that definitely was something I didn't know about, but I think maybe because of her repetition, which I agree with, it kind of sunk in more, that like this is something that I think is a valid point. I mean, I think, obviously, I think that there is an inherent bias she has, a little bit against AI. Like, if I had to pick, I'd say she's more against, obviously. And the other book I read was, more for. So, I think where I land is I respect other educators' decisions about how much they want to implement AI in their classes. I think that there's pros and cons, and I think it's just kind of like you just either decide that you think the pros outweigh the cons or the cons outweigh the pros. But I do think no matter what, I think we as educators, I think it is our right, our purview, our responsibilities to at least educate even, holistically about AI for our students. I think without even giving our opinion, right? Like here are the pros, here are the cons, right? But I think it's going to be it is already such a prevalent and relevant contribution to our lives that I think it's worth the conversation at the very least. And, I actually took this professional development course this summer as well through my school, my college, on AI. And it was definitely, about how to implement it effectively and being respectful that not everyone wants to implement it like wholeheartedly. But I think for me, I'm definitely going to start to implement it, but I'm going to do it very like piecemeal and very small and gradual. Because I don't think that I'm educated enough to like really bring in it so much. But my goal is to just kind of use it to help them, review drafts. Like I want to have them write stuff themselves initially and then use AI to help review. And I want to kind of do that as a class and help them understand how to prompt AI better and kind of look at what happens if you prompt it this way, if you prompt it that way, and really have them go through and highlight what AI suggested and what they agree with and what they don't agree with. So that's going to kind of be how I start to implement it, at least this coming semester. And I think I'm just going to kind of limit it to that, if you can call that a limit. But I'm just going to mostly have them write a first draft and use AI to kind of help review their drafts because I teach writing. So,
yeah. Which, I mean, I don't want to keep speaking, but Harvard instituted a 3-part module on AI into their expository writing classes for all freshmen. So I think you're seeing that move, and other places have done an AI requirement. But we've talked about this. It came up in our departmental retreat, right? Just do we want to do something similar so that they all have to have this? And it's about things like, what is it? How does it work? What are you doing? What does it mean to use this? Where's your information going? that kind of thing. So I think that's really interesting.
And I'm not sure how many of you have read that New Atlantic piece about the end of reading by Rose Horowitz? Okay. Well, I feel like that kind of ties together well with what Rachel Adams is doing about like the issue with literacy. Like I agree with you, Mary. I kept reading The New Empire of AI and just thinking, okay, well, how do those of us so invested in narratives, like what can we do with this information about exploitation, about trapping people in cycles of poverty, which it's not really creating upward mobility that so many think. Well, I would say it depends on how the technocrats behave, which, in a capitalist system, they don't make the best decisions usually for the people. And it's profit over people a lot of the time. So, what do we do with all that information? Like, kind of what Stefanie, what you're saying, Mary, Harvard's doing, it sounds like an AI literacy question, kind of like, getting students more aware and critically thinking about how they're using these tools in general, like even how they're using digital media. And I mean, it's not something I think we can all do in our courses. Like we don't, like I don't think all of a sudden we now have to become AI literacy experts. But I wonder how students are going to do you think students are even, the majority are aware of these ethical dilemmas with AI? Or are they just like, oh, here's the tool, let me use it?
I think some of them may have a little sense of the fact that data centers use a lot of energy, but I don't think they have much sense beyond that. I mean, just based on my students' reaction to my, dopey comment about the LA wildfires, they're like, wait, what do you mean? It's like, well, huge environmental impact, uses huge amounts of water, which is a limited resource. And, they were like, what, really, what? And I feel these were upper level, very smart students otherwise. That actually read books, at least they pretended they did. And the one student who used AI on his papers, even though it said they couldn't on the syllabus, ended up, turning in papers about things we hadn't read that semester. And so, there is a connection to literacy as well at various levels,
Well, that's why I struggle too with the idea of implementing it, at least in a first year writing course, just because I've had students, I mean, previously I've never implemented it. I've always just kind of had the policy of like, when we're doing, I feel differently about my creative courses, but when we're doing a 101 or even below a 101, we're so focused on rhetoric and structural skills and cognitive ability that it's hard for me to feel like I can permiss that at all, because I feel like, it's kind of like give an inch, take a mile, like in terms of AI literacy. Is like, I don't think they know, like, as I would try to explain it, I think it would be a struggle for them to understand, like, when it is and isn't appropriate, even when I'm sort of trying to set those boundaries, because I've had students use it when it hasn't been acceptable in my course. And I think for me, it's so fundamentally important, and it's like a fundamental part of the humanities to understand how to construct a dialogue independently, even if that's something as small and as simple as your standard basic narrative essay. We have the age old, we're going to have a diagnostic essay now, not only just to see where you are skill wise, but to see what your writing looks like without the presence of digital altercation, So I struggle with that, because I've had students say, oh no, I just used AI to edit, I didn't use AI to write it. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, there are still things that you need to know to be a human being who communicates in the world. And I believe that too much use of AI on a lower level English course would become a handicap and a detriment to these students in the future as they're trying to climb their various career ladders. Just because it makes us stop thinking a little bit. And that's not to say it can't be good and productive on higher levels, but I think on that first year basic level, I think it's really, in my personal opinion, a detriment to the students to give them access to that. I think we should educate them on what exploitation is going on and all of these things. But yeah, I think that it's a slippery slope, just because the literacy is so ambiguous for these kids.
Yeah. I will say that the Harvard course, I pulled it up, looks at the mechanics of large language models. And I want to make sure it's clear what they're actually doing. And some of them, other programs do very different things, do more like what you're describing. The second one looks at the AI's effects on education. And then the third one covers environmental impact, data privacy, copyright, and disinformation. So it is at a very basic level of grounding them in terms of what is this thing that you kind of often use so glibly without even realizing. I think they just use it as if it's the internet, basically.
Yeah.
They don't
I don't think they
what's
often
going
know
on.
it, that it's not just bigger, smarter Google.
Right, exactly.
That it works
that's
completely differently.
Yeah. So.
Well, do you think that there is a way that AI actually can be, like, if it, whatever we would say is its ethical use, like, it actually would create job opportunities? Or even when it's used in an ethical manner, it's not going to open up careers or like help the economic crisis that we're in. Looking for summer reads? The Gay and Lesbian Review, a bi-monthly magazine that features arts and culture conversations about the LGBT community, has you covered. The July and August issue is all about summer getaways and artists. So, for example, there are articles about David Hockney. There's an article about the sculpture in Central Park that some of you, if you've seen Angels in America, definitely recognize, by Emma Stebbins. So I can't wait for you all to get your hands on this issue. As always, there are TV reviews, film reviews, book reviews, theater reviews. So if you just don't know where to begin with LGBTQ literature, this is a great magazine to inspire you to add more books to your to-be-read pile. I love the Gay and Lesbian Review, and I'm so happy because I have a promo code for you. Go to glreview.org and get the print subscription or the digital subscription and put in ITBR choice for a free issue of the magazine.
When it's time to scale your business, it's time for Shopify. Get everything you need to grow the way you want, like all the way. Stack more sales with the best converting checkout on the planet. Track your cha-chings from every channel, right in one spot. And turn real-time reporting into big-time opportunities. Take your business to a whole new level. Switch to Shopify. Start your free trial today.
This episode is brought to you by Workday. Guessing is for game shows, not your business, especially when your margin for error is zero. Workday is the enterprise AI platform for HR, finance, and IT, with a deep understanding of your organization's context and guardrails. So every AI action is permission aware, giving you accuracy 24/7 and the ability to not just get work done, but get it done right. It's a new Workday.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. The MLB at Field of Dreams returns. Bryce Harper and the Philadelphia Phillies face Byron Buxton and the Minnesota Twins at the iconic Field of Dreams ballpark. The field is calling. Watch the MLB at Field of Dreams game live on Netflix Thursday, August 13th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific.
Welcome to Severed, a podcast week dropping new episodes every Monday. Severed True Crime and Severed Paranormal episodes deep dive into murder, mysteries, and the otherworldly in a concise format. A 7-minute story to frame the case with thoughtful analysis and our usual banter.
We sometimes find the lighter side of darker cases. We offer 3 spin-off shows, Severed Strange Stories, Severed Haunted You, and Severed Serial Killers that highlight the unusual to lighthearted topics from the digital dumpsters of true crime, haunted universities, and the minds of madness like Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer.
We are your co-hosts. I'm Harry Chambers.
And I'm Drew Hudson. Listen on all major podcast platforms, including Rogue Media Network and Radio Garden State. Follow us on Instagram at severed_podcast.
I mean, it's put more people out of work than it's put in.
Yeah. I mean, right, and some Angela would say, well, that's just temporary. I mean, I just saw this documentary, the AI doc, which I really recommend. It's on Netflix. And like Sam Altman is interviewed, and it's like very I mean, it explores all the different criticisms around AI. But like, I'm just surprised. Like, it's interesting how Sam Altman and these technocrats talk about the ethics around it. They're like, well, the consumer, it's kind of like what Stefanie was suggesting. The consumer will be in control of this product. They're going to determine its use. Like, we're going to try to all collaboratively work together. It's going to optimize our workflow. And like, just that constant use of optimizing, like rhetoric, I'm thinking, well, okay, true. Like, it does in certain, business writing, technical writing, it does help, increase the workflow. But like, what does that then mean for those jobs that, are you then putting certain people out of business?
I guess I think about, computer scientists, for example, for a number of years, all we've heard about is go into computer science, go into programming. That's like it's the place to be. This is where you're going to get jobs and money and so on. And I think they got the shock. I know they got the shock of their lives when this happened because
They
AI
can
can do
code
their
better
job.
than they can.
Yes, exactly. So I think it's kind of interesting. I just don't think we know. I mean, where they thought that this would be a job producer for certain fields, it is turning, it looks like it's not necessarily. Somebody just said to me recently, there are only really 2 safe areas to go into now to avoid AI: health care, like nursing, and plumbing. You want to make money, those are the 2 areas to go into.
Hairdressing.
Otherwise, you're screwed.
Hairdressing, probably.
Right,
And even nursing is pushing it because there's been talk of like AI in the medical space extensively, which is terrifying, I think, a little bit.
It is a little terrifying.
I'm sorry, Rachel, talk a little bit about justice and inequality that it's creating. I agree with that, but at the same time, when you talk about how biased language, the way she does was present, and it still is to a certain extent, that also leads to other questions that if we are not, those of us who have particular ideas of, preserving rights and making sure that we fight against inequality, if we're not using it and training it with our ideals, and it's only getting trained by people who do not have that particular way of thinking, won't it actually create more biases? And the other thing is, if we don't teach students how to use it ethically, and I think there are ways to do that. Now, this doesn't solve the environmental problem. They have done things where they're self-contained and they like created this gel, but still there's environmental problems. So this, I'm just speaking on, justice and inequality and power. And I feel that if you're not using it, you are enabling it to continue to have, this power to create inequality, and using it also causes, environmental things and inequality. But it learns from those who use it. So if, and I do have, like I said, I'm in the middle. I believe in ethical use, but what a lot of people don't understand is one of the reasons for that is because if I'm not involved in this, if I don't understand it, then I'm powerless against it. So I feel like if we don't utilize it in some way, if we're not constantly interacting with it, we have no idea what that's really impacting society, global society in so many ways. We're powerless against it. So I think that we're kind of stuck in a spot here of there's a lot of things that we have fears about, justified, but at the same time, not being involved could almost do a lot of harm itself. So I feel like it's kind of like we're in a position where we really have to think about the pros and cons of not interacting as well as interacting with it.
No, it's a great point, Rachel. And like I was really struck by her just illustrative examples, like specifically what this actually looks like what these AI tools could do outside of like just ChatGPT boxes, like how, it's being deployed by militarization in, with Gaza, Iran. I mean, Iran wasn't happening, but I'm sure it's being deployed. Airport security. Like my fear is
security. Border
like
security.
Exactly, border security. Like it's accelerating racial biases. Like it's accelerating like the post 9/11 kind of biases happening with surveillance and security and profiling. So you're right. And like if we're aware of that, my question though is still, isn't that then up to the federal, like wouldn't we hope that then the federal government would call out these biases and try to counter that technology from being used? But you have to then have a government that cares about the equality of the people.
Good luck with that.
Which right now in our government, I think they actually enjoy this chaotic mess that's happening, which, well, and they're also getting a lot of payouts, I'm sure, from these companies, but like, is there optimism with her book, with her argument? Like, is there anything that, we can't, I guess, be soothsayers, but if we could try to be a soothsayer, is there anything like where you've seen maybe some progress? Like, are these protests happening against AI data centers? Like, they're across party lines, like political lines. Is that progress?
I don't know. Well, the Anthropic's, the $1.5 billion lawsuit that they were charged with was just given final approval. So that's kind of a step in the right direction, right? That they stole all this stuff from all of these people. I mean, again, it's a drop in the bucket. Apparently, I mean, I think each person involved in the suit gets like $3,000. I mean, and we're talking some huge names anyway. But maybe things like that. If we just start, if there are lawsuits and other things. I know that wasn't exactly the thing you were describing, but it was the first thing that I wrote. I actually put in my notes. I'm like, okay, this is something, because yes, I feel like she is sort of optimistic. I don't have to tell you, I really loved the whole last section about, who's going to lead this? It's going to be women. Women need to lead this. I think it's true. I mean, she was anticipating the tech bros back in 2024 when she was writing this thing. I mean, not that they didn't exist then, but let's face it, look around now, right? I mean, they've taken over the AI.
Different magnitude.
Right, exactly. And so she was really she was really quite ahead of her time, prescient in that regard. But yeah, I'm like, go girl, yes.
Well, women understand the fight for autonomy in a way that men don't, And
That's
I think a lot
true.
of like us being worried about AI being dominant is like, are we losing autonomy,
Yeah, bias and so on. I mean, we with all those things, right? Exactly. So
yeah,
since people created it, people could push against it. I think there'll be more lawsuits. I think they'll be voting for political figures who will actually put laws and things in place, hopefully. But because, like, in addition to what you were mentioning, Mary, there's also lawsuits out there against ChatGPT because of people actually harming themselves. So I think that Facebook is losing, has lost several cases when it comes to Instagram, and I think you're going to see this, go to AI as well, where people are going to start asking their representatives to really focus on this, and I think that the lawsuits are going to force some sort of hopefully positive shifts, but it is going to take protests and voting for the right people to put these guardrails in place, because a lot of harmful things have already happened, and it's unfortunate that we don't hear about it until the lawsuits hit the news. But I think that more and more people are learning about these negative things that have happened, and but as far as what Andrew mentioned, I think that that's tougher because that's probably a closed AI system, and our interacting with AI would not influence the way those systems are designed. So they're going to be designed by the military who interacts with them, and their biases are going to be inherent in that AI, and that's very, very dangerous.
Yeah. Well, it kind of goes back to, if we like these systems of inequality, like militarization, there's so many critiques of what's America's involvement in conflicts. That's not going to be improved upon with AI, because those systems the inequalities have to be addressed from a structural issue. And then, AI just, like you said, Rachel, works off of who's using it. And if someone already has these biases, they're not going to counter those. They're not going to counter their own biases. Yeah. Well, it's even like I'm reading, there's an article, Mark Zuckerberg recently says he doesn't buy the anxiety about AI related job displacement. But then interestingly, in May, Meta fired 10% of its workforce. So wait, you don't believe that it's going to displace people, but your own company displaces
You're displacing them. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Like, that's just the topsy-turvy universe right now that I'm...
Right. Yeah.
It's like, well, even today, right, did you all see that OpenAI, right, one of its models just like hacked into another system or company?
Yeah.
Like, wait.
Yes.
Like, so does that mean like, whoops, we just hacked into, like, does that mean that, like, are they able to, I don't know,
the battle of
hack
the AI
into the stock market? I don't.
There was that whole discussion in the book about how, sort of national interests are provided, are using AI to spy on AI.
Right.
And particularly China and its involvement in various things, including elections, but also just that it's just spying on other AI companies and taking their, their formulae or whatever it is, algorithms. So, yeah.
Well, that's what it really seems like. It almost seems like an arms race.
It is.
It is an arms race, right? It's an AI arms race.
Yeah.
But like that's why when they say they're talking about collaborating, they all are like critiquing each other's companies.
Yeah.
Like to try to show that they're the best product.
They're the best, right? Yeah.
Which again, I think the technocrats, like they're their own, like I don't know how to address making them more ethical. But I definitely
may not
like
be capable of it.
Yeah. I definitely though like what you're saying, Rachel, and what Stefanie, like using it, if you're using it in the classroom or like to make students aware of the inequalities that exist, but also how to become more critical thinkers with the technology, which they're going to be faced with eventually. Like whether if it's not in our class, it's going to be in an internship or in another course or like, again, like I would just be curious, are we the humanists critiquing AI more than say those in other fields?
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
Shipping, billing, admin, payroll, marketing. You're managing all the things. So why waste time sending important documents the old-fashioned way? Mail and ship when you want, how you want with Stamps.com. Print postage on demand 24/7 and schedule pickups from your office or home. Save up to 90% with automated rate shopping. That's why over 1 million small businesses trust Stamps.com. Go to Stamps.com and use code PODCAST to try Stamps.com risk-free for 60 days.
A burst pipe, a dead water heater, the AC calling it quits. Who do you call? HomeServe is an easy way to handle unexpected home repairs with plans covering stuff basic homeowners insurance usually won't. Instead of scrambling for a contractor, you make one call to get the repair process started. Join the millions of customers who trust HomeServe right now. Go to homeserve.com/podcast for 50% less your first year. That's homeserve.com/podcast. Savings compared to renewal price. Void in Florida.
I don't know. Because I will say humanists are very good at
my guess is yes.
Yeah.
My guess is yes.
Yeah, because we're not hearing the same kind of, I wouldn't say no concern, but I don't think the level of concern from, for example, the faculty in our business schools. I mean, I've made this comment in a few different venues that I do feel like AI, and I don't know that it's actively, the people behind it are actively doing this, but basically are pitting the disciplines against each other, or that is what's happening, right? So you've got people on the business end, I mean, at its most extreme, like you've got people on the business end in the business schools who are being told and telling their students, then you have to learn this, you have to be able to use this, it's absolutely imperative, you're not going to be able to get a job with this. And then you've got people on the way other end, and the extreme end of, say, the humanities and English, let's say, saying, use it on pain of death. You will not graduate. You will be, you will be shot out of this class. You'll be shot out of a cannon. I mean, so I do think, so one of the things I'm kind of hoping is what happens, say, places like Seton Hall and others, is that we can kind of come to the table together and say, okay, listen, this is what works in my class. And you need to make sure your students understand that what's right for your class is not necessarily right for that one. And even something as basic as that, I don't think many faculty engage in. And I don't want to fault them because we're all overwhelmed by this. But I do think it has become, we're back to grappling with, from the perspective of our different disciplines, how to do this. And we're not necessarily figuring out ways to kind of meet in the middle between you two.
Yeah, and like from that Atlantic piece, like just that statistic has stuck out to me so much about 30% now of adults don't know how to infer and interpret a multi-page text.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so the issue of literacy in our country, I mean, I think it's a global issue, but specifically an American issue right now.
Yeah.
Like, this issue of literacy, I think, is just impacting so much of, like, is impacting every institution. Like, because literacy really is connected, as we see, to forming knowledge, to, you know, making judgments and understanding tools you're using and narratives around you. Like, so I don't know. I just hope that, I think that what I liked about like Rachel's book, but what I also like about the Atlantic piece is like all of these texts are really encouraging educators to think deeply about the importance of teaching students the foundation. And we might have to be teaching them the act of reading it. Like, why is it so important to even engage with text? And I think maybe that's a question that hasn't always been forefronted. It's almost like, oh, our students come in knowing verbal comprehension, syntax, like understanding big ideas, you know, extrapolating from an essay. But I'm sure like all of us have seen how students in the last few years are really strong in certain skills.
Right.
And I don't know if this is because of the age of media that they grew up in, but I feel like they're really strong when it comes to like when you give them a very specific prompt, they're really good at delivering back what you're asking. But when it comes to like a just creative question, like, so what did you think of the text? Like, it's more those open-ended questions that I find where they have to just come up with their own authentic idea. It can be a struggle.
I've noticed that too with the open-ended questions. And I really enjoy giving the open-ended questions, but I do feel like a lot of the time they don't have the tools to address them. And I feel like too, I wonder, not to blame everything on COVID, but I do wonder if like a post-COVID world has anything to do with this, because their high school experiences were less engaged and interrupted. And now we're seeing students who went to high school entirely online be in college right now, you know? So
yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't help that another statistic from this article was middle high school teachers, the majority assign 0 to 4 books a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah,
there's a lot. We got a lot of crises, but that's why book clubs. I will say though, I'm seeing a rise in book clubs. I'm seeing a rise in independent bookstores. So they did say there's a strong niche of readers. So it's not like all is lost.
Right.
There is a strong active group. And it does seem like the younger generation, I don't know, have you seen them? I've been so optimistic about how many students of mine are actually pushing back without me even like addressing ethical issues with AI. Like are pushing back about like, well, do we even, I don't really want to use this. Or I kind of want to go to more analog methods. Like, are any of you seeing that in the classroom?
Some students, yes. I had some students summer one, and I had 2 of them write about the environmental effects of AI, all on their own.
Wow.
Yeah. And they found a lot of interesting, and then I had one who did a problem proposal on how to, make the data centers more insulated, whether reusing their own resources. So they're thinking about it in various ways we might not expect them to, I would say.
And I realize this is a somewhat selective group, but the English Club produced a list of summer reading, a pretty ambitious list, and they've been cranking through it. I mean, and posting their responses on Instagram and, responding, and it's like 6 or 7 or 8 books, which, to me doesn't feel like a whole lot, but, for summer, but for them is clearly a lot. And, they're not easy books or short books or, nothing books either. So, I mean, so I think that there is, it's niche, but again, I think there is sort of an interest in certain kinds of reading.
Yeah. And the benefits of reading that I think people are starting, who aren't frequent readers, like you realize, oh, it helps to regulate the nervous system. It de-stresses. It lets you imagine. You feel excited when you complete a book. Like, I mean, there's just so much neural pathway kind of connection.
Yeah.
I mean, the rise of the niche bookstore is kind of a wild thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's just AI either. I mean, I'm feeling, and there have been articles about this. There was one about there was an instructor at Yale who had a summer class. It was like 3 weeks and like no technology at all. And they went through a little bit of withdrawal at first, but I think we're seeing more and more of it where students are themselves saying, I know I'm addicted to this stuff. I know I'm addicted to my cell phone and so on, and are actually, in some cases, I'm not going to say all grateful for when somebody steps in and says, no, we're not doing that. This is going to be analog. You're going to handwrite. Everything is going to be on paper or whatever, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm curious before, I'm not sure what to end time on this is, but I wanted to ask Stefanie if any of, since she's already read Co-Intelligence, if there's any kind of, I don't know, sort of heads up. I wondered whether some of the questions about, let me see, whether there was this whole thing she did on the global governance of AI. And I started to wonder whether maybe we needed to kind of think about something similar in terms of education broadly. Anyway, I was kind of wondering if any of these feed into our next conversation about that book.
Yeah. Great question, Mary. Let's see.
We may have lost her. All right, well, we can ask her in email. Stefanie, let us know. Yeah, I was just curious since she had read it already. It was one of my questions in my brain. I was like, I'm wondering if Ethan Mollick is, because I think he also has a really interesting perspective. I don't think he's just all gung-ho, rah-rah. I think he is thoughtful. As I said, I've read other things by him. And I think he definitely comes into it with more of a, I don't know, apprehensive is not the right word, but right. So a little bit of, it's not, again, all just, let's all go this. There are definitely questions about ethical issues and other things. So just wondering.
Yeah, we'll ask Stefanie in an email. But well, and I know he's really interested in that idea of mutual collaboration. I think, which I'm curious to like.
Right.
Again, with any of these like AI conversations, I always want the illustrative example. I'm like, I need the like actual concrete example. That's why like I'm so happy Rachael starts her book with you actually like envisioning someone doing content moderation, like using AI, how that could go wrong, like how someone could be imprisoned through the wrongful use, like just all this different scenarios. But any other thoughts? Does anyone, you need to get something off your chest?
Talking about reading and the critical thinking and these skills that are important to us in humanities. And I was looking quickly and I found it. Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, said that AI is the revenge of the English major because it's going to take critical thinking and writing skills to program in the future because it's all going to be typed up or verbal speaking. And I wonder what you think about that. And I'll put the link in here that I found because I didn't find the actual interview, but I found a clip of it on Instagram. Cool. So everyone could look at that. But what is that saying?
There was an article recently, and I can't remember where I saw this, about the newest area for hiring among these AI companies is philosophers. They're hiring philosophers to deal with issues of ethics and critical thinking and so on. Again, are they hiring 20 philosophers? No, they're hiring, but some, yes. But it's interesting that, hey, I would not be surprised if our philosophy department starts to sell them. We see posters in the hall.
Well, and wait,
get hired by OpenAI.
Did you know there's a follow-up happening in October that Ethan did?
Hey guys.
Oh, hey,
I'm sorry.
Stephanie.
I'm having serious tech issues and I do need to get going. I was trying to unmute myself literally for 10 minutes. So
No,
I
go
don't
ahead.
even remember the question you asked of me 10 minutes ago. But I will say this, Ethan Malik, I mean, he has been doing a lot of research and I find him to be just a very fascinating figure in the AI world. And I just highly recommend reading the book. It's actually a super fast read, but he talks about this idea, also about how much AI will contribute to our own kind of humanity, our own intellectualization and our own, thought processes, and that it's not about necessarily AI taking over that, but it's about this complementary approach, right? So it's like, we don't necessarily want AI to be leading the charge, but we want to, work together with it, right? And I think he gives a lot of kind of explanation and ways to do that. So I highly recommend the book. I think it was really an easy and fast read. And I think that he does a lot of ways and gives really clear examples about how to kind of like implement it in your life in a way that just complements it. So I don't even know if I answered your question, but
It did, Stephanie.
Okay, great.
It answered
Great.
Mary's question. Thank you, Stephanie.
So I'm gonna have to go, guys, but it was a
Okay.
pleasure. I'm really happy to be part of it, and I hope that we can have another one at some point.
Yes,
Are we going to
co-intelligence.
schedule the other one?
Oh yeah, we
I
will.
won't read the book unless I have a deadline.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
So
You mean
we'll work
to read
on that.
the co-intelligence book or a different book?
The co-intelligence.
Oh yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. That book is great. Yeah, I read that one. So.
Oh,
good,
I
good.
definitely want to read that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then I didn't know he has in October. His next book is Coexistence: The Next Phase of AI.
Oh, great. Oh, great. Okay. Yeah,
because I was reading.
He's interesting.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And I think like it is important for us. Like I'm glad we're reading books that give so many different perspectives because I will say I was left with Rachel's book feeling not Rachael Warmington, Rachel Adams. But I was left with Rachel Adams' book thinking like just still in that kind of crisis mode, which is important, right? Like I'm not saying we need to know these ethical issues, but I do kind of want to see what's the optimistic collaborative side. Like what does that look like? And yes, and I was just like seeing there's so many new AI books that are coming out. I mean, I feel like this is the biggest nonfiction genre now.
Yeah.
You're probably right.
Like Empire of AI. I know everyone is recommending that. And then I just read there's a book called If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies, Why Superhuman AI Would Kill Us All. Now that seems even more fear-mongering.
Hysterical.
Seems a little scary.
Rachel's book already had me thinking, is this the next atom bomb we'll talk about? It should never have been like utilized. And that book that you just mentioned, that sounds like it's totally like going to compare it to the atom bomb.
Yes. Okay, so thank you all, and I can't wait for our next conversation. We could
this was great.
If you want to try to schedule now, we could do that.
We're all here.
Yeah, we're all here. And let me just say